welcome to Footy Tunes. I'm your host, Paul Castanet. Thanks so much for joining us for this first somewhat new look episode of Footy Tunes. If you're just listening, we're now offering you video content as well. You can check us out on YouTube under Footy Tunes Podcast. If you want to watch instead of just listen, have this nice backdrop of all my kind of ridiculous kit collection at this point. I think I might have a bit of a problem, but that is for a later day. What we really want to do going forward, though, is just include you guys a little bit more. Get your input on what you want us to talk about. And if your team's doing bad, if you just want to rant about something, you want to hear us discuss it, shoot us a line. We're on Instagram and Facebook under Footy Tunes Podcast, or you can send us an email at footytunespodcast@gmail.com. But let's get into the good stuff, guys. That's what we're here for, right? The musical guest today, I'm excited about this one, the Groove Aliment. It's a Charlotte, North Carolina-based jazz group, silky smooth jazz group. They just released a new Slow Jams EP, 3 songs of just really good original tunes that we will put in a link in the description for you guys to watch them on YouTube. We're going to feature, obviously, a couple of their songs today. But without further ado, let's get right into it, guys. Let's talk some footy. With me today is my friend Will Robinson. How you doing, man?
Doing fine.
Thanks for coming. So as you can see by my Barcelona jersey, I'm been bummed pretty recently. Messi's gone. We all know Messi's gone, and it's the end of an era, and I'm just sad. And as you can see by the wall behind me, I'm a huge kit collector, and I love kits. This is one I bought a long time ago, featuring, if you're only listening, I'm holding up a jersey featuring Xavi, Iniesta, Neymar, Messi, and Piqué. So that's how far we've fallen from grace recently. Piqué is the only one still in the squad, and that makes me really sad. So now that we're done bumming you out, we can get on with the show. Speaking of Messi leaving, PSG are super stacked now. You want to talk about some of their new signings?
Oh, yes. I mean, that's essentially, the new Galacticos now?
They have to be, yeah.
I mean, they got Wijnaldum at the beginning of the transfer window, I believe.
Yeah, got him for a free transfer from Liverpool.
Got Hakimi from Inter, which Inter kind of had no choice because, financial troubles as well.
Right.
And then Ramos was next. And was there anyone else before that? Before Messi?
Donnarumma.
That's right, Donnarumma. Got him.
Huge up-and-coming Italian goalkeeper. Starting for the Italian national team already at 22 or 23,
Yeah, you got to question that birth certificate. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I remember me at 22. I could barely grow facial hair. And it's just like, come on.
Huge, vastly experienced for his age, especially. He's already has a bunch of caps for the Italian national
But credit
team.
to him. I remember watching that Euros. He looked solid. I mean, he looked like a veteran playing back there. I mean, he commanded that box.
Absolutely. Congrats to Italy on their
congrats to him.
Their win in the European Championships.
Yeah, I guess it came to Rome.
Yeah, it's coming Rome, as they said. So I mean, I'll throw up an image here of all the possible lineup for PSG. But I mean, is there any way that they can consider their season a success if they don't win the Champions League?
Well, to be fair, I mean, I was thinking about the financial side. I mean, I think the only thing they spent money on is the wages because you got Messi for free.
That's true. Wijnaldum for free. Yeah, you got a couple good free deals.
And Ramos for free, right?
Oh, I think they did. Yeah, you're right.
I mean,
that's great business.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I'm pretty sure the wages, that's the only thing they have to worry about. But again, back to that pressure, I mean, it does... I'd say out of all those signings, 3 of them are 30 and over, but still, they still got a lot to bring to the table. And I mean, especially when you get to the Champions League, it's not going to be Premier League physical style of play. It's going to be more of how that experience comes together and makes things go. But my only concern, the only drawback is the fact that No disrespect to France. That's not the strongest league. I mean, look, I've got respect for the Ligue 1 because they do churn. Think about it. Over the past decade or so, how much talent has come out of Ligue 1 going to either the Premier League, La Liga, Bundesliga?
Yeah, Lyon specifically have produced a lot of great talent. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not as, I mean, look, it's a good league. It's a good, I guess you could say, farm league. But when you're talking about competition, that's my concern. Like, you know, they're going to be playing against like clubs like what? Strasbourg, Lorient.
Yeah.
These aren't like European.
Watch out away at Toulouse, though. That's where they can get you.
So, I mean, it's just, that's my only concern. You know, you're kind of like, they're walking through or supposed to, because remember, they lost to Lille.
It was like the first time they didn't win their league in a long time.
But it's
last year.
That's not the strongest league. I mean, the Premier League, you think about it, you're week in and week out, you're going against now not even the toughest sides that are going to give you a hard time.
Yeah.
So in that respect, you can say they're kind of Premier League sides are kind of like battle tested, ready for something tough that comes their way. But that's my only concern. How, you know, after kind of like taking it easy in France and then getting ready to, I mean, look, I know they're going to get out of the group stage. We know that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But it's just when they get past the group stage and get ready to play against someone like the defending champs like Chelsea, for example, or
Munich, or, you know, one of the big guys.
How are they going to fare, you know?
Yeah. And speaking of what could potentially now become farm leagues, La Liga is going to be kind of struggling without their stars. No Messi, no Ronaldo. So I don't know if it could be the end of the whole 3-horse race with Atletico Madrid, Real, and Barcelona, and maybe some of the smaller clubs have a chance to at least get in Champions League position, if not have a shot at the title. But how do you think La Liga is going to fare going forward now?
To be honest with you, I mean, yes. It's for about a good part of a decade, you had that Messi-Ronaldo rivalry. It made the Clásicos, definitely made them something that everyone wanted to watch. But to be honest with you, it could be somewhat of a blessing in a way. I mean, this could be an opportunity for other clubs to kind of get their names out there, or other players that, I mean, one thing about La Liga, same thing. You've got talent that no one really knows about until maybe they do something in the Champions League or Europa League or on at the international level. We've got some players out there who can probably make a name for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving kind of slightly to the transfer window, there's been a couple big signings already. Grealish to City from Aston Villa for over 100 million. Lukaku to Chelsea for over 100 million. Are we going to see Kane to City by any chance?
You know, you want to say that that's probably going to be a deadline day sweep, which, I mean, it could still happen. Part of me wants to say, okay, that's kind of a big deal to kind of get done in one fell swoop. But at the same time, Chelsea they made that happen with Lukaku in a week. But again, Inter need funds. So they were kind of, It's funny because I remember one of the people I was running Inter was saying, Lukaku's not for sale at the very beginning of the transfer window. And in my mind, I'm like, he's driving up the price. Because I think that was a tactic. Because realistically, I remember Inter fans, they were pretty upset once the deal, looked like the deal was going to go through.
Right.
And I'm thinking to myself, they couldn't have been that naive in thinking, given the financial trouble of their club, that Lukaku was going to stay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it just depends. It depends on the variables. I mean, Tottenham, another club that's kind of, especially with that big shiny stadium.
Yeah, like one of the first $1 billion stadiums or something like that. Yeah.
I'll leave that for another day. I mean, it's Tottenham. Yeah. But anyways, so I think desperation could kick in, and maybe it's in the works as we're speaking right now. So
how does Tottenham fare if that happens? If it is deadline day, do you think they have to buy a replacement striker just in case, or do they wing it with maybe like a Lucas Moura or Son up top, which he's been playing as a striker the first couple of weeks now?
Well, you go back to that result against Man City last week. I mean, that Tottenham side, even without Kane, they didn't look bad. I mean,
first game under a new coach too, Nuno Espirito Santo.
And a lot of people wondered. Again, I wondered about that. I was like, well, what's this Tottenham side going to look like with a manager who's not who's essentially No, just not. I don't mean this in a derogatory way. Mourinho 2.0.
Yeah.
Maybe
Portuguese
style of
guys.
play, yes, but personality-wise, not so much.
Right, yeah. A little bit more approachable.
So to be fair, it looked like he got them to buy into their style of play. And I think, and he had to have been thinking about that for a while, like, because, that's been going around for probably the whole summer. What if Kane leaves? What's going to happen with Tottenham? What's Nuno Espirito Santo going to do? So it'll be interesting. I mean, he looks like I said, to go back to that City match, it looks like they were actually playing for the manager. They had bought into what he said. So maybe they might be able to pull something off until the winter transfer window. Depending on how things go, I think that conversation will probably be had saying, look, if they lose Kane, like, okay, we need to get someone. So only time's going to really tell if Kane leaves.
And speaking of transfer business, Arsenal has spent a lot of money in this I think they've spent the most in the Premier League, over 100 million pounds, I think, at this point. And have had a very underwhelming first few games of the season, as they normally do. Sorry to the Arsenal fans. But what what can you say for them? Because they're like they spent this money that the Arsenal fans have always been frustrated with their team for not spending money. They go out and do it. And I know it's early. Maybe they can work something out, but they do not look like they're anywhere near up to the par of even some of the mid-table teams so far in the Premier League.
That's a case of ownership, really. It's reactive ownership at that. But I gotta put it to you this way: it's a few years too late, because you look at other clubs. I mean, you know what? I'll use Leicester as an example, or Wolves. They've had a project. They've had something going on for a while. They've had a process in place. I mean, it's why these clubs are where they're at. I mean, Wolves, I think they're kind of stalling at the moment, especially now that, Nuno Espirito Santo left them.
Right.
Leicester, on the other hand, they've got Brendan Rodgers. I mean, yeah, people can make jokes about them, bottling it at the end of the season, missing out on top four, but
sure,
they have something in place.
Yeah.
Arsenal, okay, yeah, they finally bought some players, but that's just, they're trying to do this all in bulk, you know what I'm saying? Rather than doing this, look, you're not going to be able to overhaul an entire team within one summer transfer window.
Right.
This is something, they've bought some players here and there, but then that's another part of the problem. They've still got the players that realistically should have been shipped off a long time ago. And then, okay, back to them spending. Who do they spend their money on? Offense, these
a lot of money on Nico Pepe, who hasn't produced much. He's
hit or miss, but the problem is, back to what you just said, he's been in. I've told you before, I give Premier League debutants that season and a half wiggle room, right?
Okay.
He's been there for over a season and a half, and it's just, you kind of have to. You don't want to call him a flop, but it's just, again, he's inconsistent. Towards the end of the last season, you've seen some games where he can be brilliant, and then you see some games sort of like today. Well, I wouldn't say it was horrible, but it's just, again, for how much, they like 70 million pounds, something like that.
So I think it was close to 100. Yeah, for all of the guys that they've purchased so far. Yeah,
but for Pepe,
for Pepe, I think it was like in the 80s. Yeah,
you put that type of money into a player, and he's been there for over a season and a half. You should see something that says, all right, he's. Yeah,
and they've gotten a lot of flack in the media for their goalkeeping situation to their. So if you guys missed, like a couple of seasons ago, Bern Leno got injured and was replaced by their backup at the time, Emi Martinez, who did spectacularly well. Really was like the anchor of their season that year. The next year, they decided to sell him because Leno was back uninjured, and they sold him to Aston Villa, where he's been number one and also playing great. Also helped Argentina win
Copa
America in spectacular fashion with a couple penalty saves. So they sell him for $20 million, and then as a replacement for $30 million buy Aaron Ramsdale from a relegated Bournemouth.
And Sheffield United.
Before, you're right. I don't know what more can be said about that besides it's just a bad business.
Story of Arsenal, poor decision making. Again, sorry, Arsenal fans. It's just, who runs your club, and
it's not your fault.
Exactly. And It's just that decision making. Emi Martinez, and you know what? And fair play to him. He was in a position where he could walk up to the manager and say, "Hey, look, this is what I did while Bernd Leno was out. I think I deserve." And to be fair, I mean, yes, you can. The argument at that time could have been made. It's a small sample size of games he played, but he looked solid. In fact, I remember when we played him, Chelsea played him, and he made some saves. I mean, that were just solid. In fact, one save he made with his hand, solid wrist. I was like, wow, I wish Kepa had wrists like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was in a position to say, look, I deserve to be number one. Arteta didn't see it that way, and fair play to him. He said, okay, I'm taking my business elsewhere. And I believe, wasn't he the leader in clean sheets last season or up there?
Yeah, I think he was up there, yeah. Uh-huh.
He was definitely up there.
And he, in my opinion, definitely deserved to take over the Arsenal position. Leno, I mean, he was great in Germany, but he has some moments for one of those goalkeepers. He's kind of like a Kepa type where he's solid sometimes.
Well, to be fair, nothing's going to top or low Kepa. I'm sorry.
That's fair. That's fair. I want to argue.
But I see what you're saying. For a club like Arsenal, that's not a top. I'd say probably a top 6 goalkeeper. For someone like I don't know, maybe trying to think, maybe a Leicester. Well, to be fair, they got Kasper Schmeichel, so never mind. That goes out the window. Yeah. But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know.
It's just again, this goes back to Arsenal. For them to be a club that's supposed to be in that top 4, no offense, Bernd Leno's not the keeper who's going to do that. And Emi Martinez, to be fair,
looks probably, like he might be.
He could have been the part.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're going to take a little bit of a break to bring you the Groove Aliment as promised. They just released a new Slow Jams EP available on YouTube. You can find them in the Charlotte area playing at a lot of local bars and breweries. Check them out on Facebook and Instagram under the Groove Aliment to find out about those dates. This first song is called Farewell off the recent Slow Jams EP. Hope you guys enjoy it. right, so I know it's kind of early for predictions, but let's just do a quick shot at the PL top 4 and relegated clubs in order.
Okay, this is hard. You're putting me on the spot.
I know, man.
So I've already put my Chelsea bias out there, but despite the great addition striking wise that we, in the striking department that we got, I'm still going to lean towards City. I mean, although part of me wants to say, who knows, maybe Pep's going to be more focused on the Champions League, and who knows, that could create the opportunity for a Chelsea or someone else. But I'm still leaning towards City. And second place, that's a tough one. I'm going to go ahead and put my club out there. I'll say Chelsea. I think Chelsea, if I don't see them winning it this year, but I think they're going to pave the way for something next year. So I'll go with them second. Third, I'm going to say Liverpool.
Okay.
I mean, I personally think they've plateaued. I mean, still a good team, but I think 4 years of playing under Klopp's gegenpressing, especially with that same group, and you haven't really had a chance to change things out. I think
they've got a couple of their starting defenders back and stuff, but I can see where like the staleness might be starting to come in.
Exactly. So, and then fourth, I'm just going to go ahead and say United.
Yeah, they made a lot of signings. I don't know if. How do you feel about the additions of Jadon Sancho and Rafa Varane for their team?
First of all, Rafael Varane, that's a steal.
Yeah,
that is
super
a
cheap.
Steal. In fact, as a neutral fan, I remember when they showed the presentation. Looking at that, I was like, you know what? That is it kind of took me back to like the Fergie era. I was like, that is a proper United signing. You signed a winner, a World Cup winner, a La Liga winner, Champions League winner. That's a winner.
A Vidic, like a strong center back.
Exactly. It just felt like a proper signing for them. But as far as Sancho goes, I don't think they really needed him, to be honest with you. I mean, he's a great player. He's definitely an exciting player to watch. But we had this conversation beforehand. That's like another wide player. It's like they've got enough of those.
Another winger, yeah.
They needed, sort of like Chelsea and City, a solid number 9. And Cavani, I mean, he's still got it, but it's just he's kind of on borrowed time.
Yeah, he's aging. That's fair.
So I'd say one was sensible. The other one was just kind of like that, hey, we're United. We signed this flashy player. That's kind of why I'm saying fourth, and also because of their manager. I don't think Solskjaer is going to be the guy to win they've got a great squad. Don't get me wrong, but he's not the guy who's going to win them anything. But that's my top 4.
Okay, cool. All right, who's getting relegated?
This is a tough one, really.
Yeah,
this is probably. I'm going to go ahead and say Watford's going to go down. That's number 1, because if they hire and fire managers the way they've been doing, that's guaranteed. Didn't they? Who was it? I'm trying to think. They used to be Leicester manager. I can't think of the guy's name. You know who I'm talking about.
I do know who you're talking about. What was his name?
It's going to come back. But they fired him, They fired him with 2 matches left in the season.
Yeah,
and then they got relegated. If they continue doing things like that, I think they're getting relegated. And Nigel Pearson.
Thank you.
But they're getting it's them. Norwich, I want to say they probably learned their lesson, and they're going to try and they still got most of those guys except for Buendia. He signed Aston Villa.
Right. They have Billy Gilmore on loan from Chelsea,
and they got Josh Sargent. Is that a permanent deal?
I think it was permanent, actually. Yeah.
Okay.
And Timu Puki's still there. Cantwell.
So a lot of those guys,
some building blocks.
Yeah. So a lot of those guys remember what it's like to be in the Premier League and what they need to stay there. But at the same time, I just don't think they're good enough. No disrespect. I mean, I kind of see them going. I mean, part of me wants to say, I think they've learned the lesson, but ultimately, I just don't think they're going to be good enough. So I'd say that so far, that's what? Watford, Norwich, and then this is the hard part. Because Brentford, I think they might do enough to stay up. Now, so these are the teams I think are the candidates to fall back down.
Okay.
To make the drop. Southampton, how many years have they just been losing players to other teams?
Yeah, they always sell off their best. Obviously, Danny Ings, their most notable departure to Aston Villa this past year, who scored. He was up there in the Golden Boot race last year.
He was up there. That's for certain.
I think he was second to Harry Kane. But yeah, just a great player who was a huge loss to their front line. And yeah, I don't know.
So I mean, I kind of I want to throw them in that conversation, and then Brighton and Hove. I respect Graham Potter. He looks, I'm surprised he didn't get the Tottenham job. Well, actually, he turned it down, right?
Yeah, I actually didn't hear about that. He might have.
But yeah, I mean, they've got a good team, but their problem, sort of like what ours was, finishing. And it's just when you go up against not necessarily the top teams, but the teams that just know how to get a result, like Burnley, for example. You don't finish your chances against them, they'll sneak a goal in.
Right. Yeah, Burnley's one of those teams that is always about to get relegated, but always is just like strong enough and has the will to just break teams down. They're so well organized.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and then I want to throw Newcastle in the mix, but they're just kind of one of those teams that, despite how terrible things are, I don't know how they just
figure out a way to make it done, get it done, man.
So I think I'm gonna go with Brighton. Yeah. Right. So that'll be my bottom three.
Okay.
Watford, Norwich, and Brighton.
Sorry, guys. So you're kind of a German football fan. Do you have anything in Germany you want to talk about?
You know what? It's gonna be Bayern Munich.
another season of Bayern dominance.
This kind of turned me off to Bayern when they signed Nagelsmann after Hansi Flick took the Germany job.
Yeah.
They signed Nagelsmann, and I'm thinking to myself, what's the point in watching that league now? I mean, it's just everyone either go abroad or they go to Bayern Munich.
Right.
And it's like, well, what's the point then? I mean,
yeah.
And especially after the whole Super League debacle, they pushed that, Germany, they trumpeted that 50+1 rule, which, it's a good rule, but it's just, well, you look at their league, it's still a one-horse race.
Yeah.
It's, I don't know, it's a little underwhelming. If and you're thinking, okay, RB Leipzig, they look like they could be the team that could push them. And to be fair, they're not a bad team, but the problem is, I mean, they're kind of a selling club. I mean,
they are, yeah. Dortmund are, as well, as many great players as they have. They like to move them along too.
I mean, that's true too. I mean, it's fun. Sadly, about Dortmund, it just seems like they're the club. They find talent from within Germany or throughout Europe and the world. Those players get their good run, and like you said, they end up selling them.
Yeah. Sevilla is another club like that comes to mind, where they buy players super cheap, and they have great seasons. They sell them for a lot more like the next season, and they're gone. But they're making money. They're doing good business, and they still seem to be up at the top of the La Liga most years. So.
Still winning Europa leagues.
Yeah, it's always good in Europa. That's true.
Speaking of Sevilla, so who was it? Jules Koundé. That's the player that Chelsea were looking at. And I haven't watched enough of him. But we were talking, Chelsea are talking about buying him, and then Trevoh Chalobah comes into the picture.
Ooh, yeah.
Nothing against Koundé. I haven't watched enough of him. He's sounding like a good player, but can you really say he's a generational talent worth breaking the bank for when you've already got a Trevoh Chalobah?
Yeah. There's a lot of center backs in rotation at Chelsea right now.
Exactly, and then it's going to be a
couple good ones out on loan, and it's
going to be a long season, especially now that Chelsea are going to be in that the Club World Cup.
Oh yeah, So Club World Cup, man.
It'd be smart to that's kind of a little segue, but yeah, it'd be kind of smart to just hold on to him instead of going after a Koundé.
Right. And I want to touch real quickly. It's a little bit of a thing of the past now, but we do want to talk a little bit about the Super League that we just mentioned a couple of times. If you haven't heard anything about it, 12 of the top teams in Europe tried to break away from their leagues and form a new Super League where they would each get an extra around $300 million worth of cash influx every year from their TV deals, and thus be able to, pretty much blow every other team out of the water and pretty much ruin the sport of football. Before UEFA and a lot of clubs and football fans all around the world kind of said, no, we're not going to let that happen. You're going to ruin the sport. And eventually it was disbanded, but only just barely. They almost ruined the whole sport that we love. So, is this a win to say that, hey, money didn't win this time, or is this just like a sign of where we're going?
It's a win for the moment. But at the same time, I mean, it kind of says what could happen. I mean, like I said, for the moment, yeah, fans, the journalists, everyone did their part. I mean, and mind you, these are, well, back to how they put that thing together. I mean, that's funny. That thing was, what, years in the making, only to get disbanded within 2 days?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like, okay, they couldn't have been that smart then, but...
Yeah, they definitely didn't cover all the angles. Obviously, I mean, UEFA and like FIFA and stuff said right away that, I mean, these players won't be able to participate for their countries and World Cups and all these other, things that would hold them back from playing regularly for a whole bunch of other tournaments, and it just didn't seem very well thought out. But
now that now that you touched on that, now I don't think that will be possible. Well, I think something like will try and resurface, but then kind of get slapped down again. But because you think about it, now that FIFA, UEFA kind of knows what can happen, that gives them plenty of time to kind of add whatever type of legislation to say, hey, if someone attempts this or that, then this is what's going to happen.
Right.
So,
not to give FIFA any credit either, because FIFA are a terrible organization. Don't want to give them any props.
But it's just, it's a weird one. But I'm glad that didn't happen, and that was a weird one.
Yeah. Jose Mourinho has a new club. He's in Rome at Roma. I have always questioned in recent years, especially probably since Mourinho was at United and definitely at Spurs, whether he's actually a good coach anymore. Like he was so great in a certain era of football, like maybe late 90s, early 2000s, when there was a lot more defensively focused. That's obviously his thing. Everyone knows he likes to park the bus. But it just seems like in the new kind of high-flying wingers going up and down the sidelines that his style of play doesn't really fit any team that he tries to impose it on anymore,
I think this is kind of a two-pronged thing. So tactics is one. It's just like you said, times have changed.
It's all good.
Times have changed, I mean, there was a time where, just that defensive approach is going to win you silverware. The other part is how he approaches players. So I took the time to watch that Amazon documentary, All or Nothing.
Oh,
which really should have just been just nothing because it's Tottenham. Sorry, I'm sorry, Tottenham fans. Okay, I should be.
It's coming from a Chelsea fan. Yeah.
Hey, that Battle of the Bridge, it still stings.
Yeah.
But okay, so watching that, Jose Mourinho, he pretty much made that. Let's be real, if you saw it. But the way he talked to players, I mean, it wasn't anything bad, but it was just, well, it depends on your generation, I guess. But he was. Did you see it?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. So he was kind of really picking on Dele Alli, really trying to push him. And of course, Dele Alli, he's just laughing it off. And I was like, well, that says a lot about him, number one. But just that type of approach, he's, and shoot.
He's famous for forcing out star players almost wherever he goes. I'm pretty sure was under the stint where they let both Mo Salah and Kevin De Bruyne go during his first time at Chelsea. And he, like, at whatever the club he's at, he always forces somebody out. It was Dele Alli at Spurs.
It's just,
But I don't know what if it's trying to get control of the locker room by grabbing it, but it's not a good way to form a team around your belief system.
It's just, I mean, it's kind of an old school thing. I mean, it worked. You go back to his days at Chelsea, you kind of got a snapshot of how he approached those players. But then again, it's another, when you're talking about the likes of what, Drogba, Lampard, Terry, completely different generation.
True.
It's again, different generation of players, and I don't think he's really, I think, not to be mean, he's kind of still stuck in the past, I think. And when you look at the likes of Klopp, Guardiola, Tuchel, they've got that grasp. Tactics aside, they kind of know how to, when to wrap your arms around a player, when to kick them in the rear. I think they've got that mastered. Instead of the, my way or the highway. And I think I listened to a podcast not too long ago where they touched on Rafa Benitez being kind of similar, the similar mindset of Mourinho, where it's like, my way or the highway mentality, and maybe not, because Rafa Benitez, he doesn't come off as someone who's going to be a quote unquote jerk. But, but still, it's going to be that, hey, I'm not going to be taking anyone's input. This is kind of what we're going to go with.
Right.
So it's interesting. I mean, tactically, I think he's kind of in the right league. But now it's going to be like, okay, did he learn his lessons from Tottenham? Like, I got to do something. My approach has got to be different with these players.
Right. Thanks so much for listening to this new look episode of Footy Tunes. We're going to be coming at you bi-weekly, so make sure to stay tuned for that. Again, our email, if you guys want to reach us, is footytunespodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. We're going to leave you with one more song from the Groove Aliment tonight. This one's also from their new Slow Jams EP. This one's called A Close Encounter to You. I hope you guys enjoy it, and we'll see you in a few weeks.